The best of Money Matters. The Big Story.
Welcome to The Big Story. I'm Hongbin Jeong. On the morning of July 29th, the fire broke out in a 10th floor flat at Block 229 in Toa Payoh. It quickly spread to the floor above, and in the chaos that followed, 7 people were taken to hospital, including a firefighter and a child. Firefighters faced another hurdle. The block's dry rising main wasn't working. So what exactly went wrong inside the building that morning? And how are residents coping after the smoke has cleared? Well, to walk us through what happened and what we know so far, we're joined by David Chun, crime correspondent of the Straits Times. Hi, David. Thank you so much for joining me.
I'm glad to be here.
All right. Well, David, how did that fire at Block 229 unfold? I mean, how did the fire spread from the 10th to the 11th floor? Do we know the cause of the fire?
Well, investigations are still ongoing, and because of the extent of the damage, we understand it is challenging for the investigators, who might take some time. But what we have heard from residents of the block is that the fire may have started from a dryer in the 10th floor unit and then engulfed it in flames before spreading upwards to the unit directly above on the 11th floor.
Okay. So what was the condition of the affected units?
Oh, the 10th floor unit is entirely gutted, and the 11th floor unit was also very badly damaged. The windows on the 10th floor unit are completely gone, and the debris from the incident was all over the common area when I was there yesterday.
Well, we understand that the dry rising main, a critical firefighting feature, was not working. How did this affect SCDF's response?
So think of the dry rising main as a pipe that runs through the building from top to bottom, but it remains dry when it's not in use. But when there is a fire, water is pumped into it from the ground up, allowing firefighters to tap into it directly at the floor they need to fight the fire on. Because this was faulty in this incident, firefighters had to haul the very, very heavy hoses directly from the fire engine on the ground floor all the way up to 10, 11 stories via the staircase just to fight the fires. They are well trained to do this, but this, of course, took them more time.
Well, is this the first time a riser has failed during a fire rescue in Toa Payoh?
There was a previous incident in 2020 at the peak in Toa Payoh when firefighters faced difficulties in using the wet riser. In that incident, a contractor had unintentionally caused the closure of the riser isolation switch.
Okay, then who's responsible for maintaining these dry risers? I mean, they are very important when fire breaks out in a situation like this. What will be done to ensure that these risers are better maintained in the future?
So the town council actually has to ensure such fire suppression systems are maintained. The SCDF and town council have since conducted an inspection, and the next one is scheduled for August next month.
Okay, well, you did mention that you were at the site yesterday. Have you spoken to any of the families that have been affected? I mean, how are the displaced families coping in the aftermath of all this?
I think in the direct aftermath, some of them had to find alternative arrangements in shelters, but some of them have already moved back. As for the ones that are staying on the closer floors to the 10th and 11th, some of them are unable to move back yet because the electricity has not been restored, and their homes, some of them are actually quite soot covered. So they will take some time to kind of clean all this up and find a place to stay.
All right. Well, thank you, David, for helping us paint a vivid picture of what happened on the ground.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We've been speaking to David Chun, crime correspondent at the Straits Times, to find out more about the potential causes and the aftermath of the fire that broke out at Block 229 Lorong 8, Toa Payoh on Tuesday afternoon. But beyond the immediate emergency response, there's another critical layer to explore: the question of protection and recovery. The affected residents, they lost everything. So what kind of insurance coverage applies in a situation like this? What are residents entitled to, and where do the gaps lie? Well, joining us now to tell us more is Chun, who's the director of Avallis Financial. Hi, Chun. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, good afternoon.
All right, Chun, for the family that lost all their belongings on the 10th floor in this incident, what protection would they have had? I mean, what does the HDB fire insurance include in terms of coverage for structural damage within the flat?
Yeah, first of all, it goes out to the families affected. So typically, when we buy a HDB flat in Singapore, we would all have this basic HDB coverage by HDB fire insurance. Especially when you have a loan, it is compulsory, it's mandatory actually. So if you were to have an outstanding of HDB, coverage is compulsory. So they would definitely have this basic. However, this particular coverage only extends to the basic structures and the walls. And assuming if their loan with HDB is already fully paid, this insurance is not compulsory. So it depends whether if the house is still under HDB loan.
Well, then, in situations where the fire spreads to, neighboring units, like the 11th floor in this case, who is liable for the damage? I mean, what insurance coverage are affected residents entitled to?
Okay, so first of all, I'm not a lawyer, but when a fire spreads, example from your neighbor, most of us wouldn't say it's okay and I'll just pay for my own damages. So a third party can always sue for damages caused, by you or your property. So for the very basic coverage by the HDB fire insurance, the unfortunate thing is they only cover the interior of your own property. So when the fire spreads to neighboring units, which is very common in a very dense population in Singapore, HDB flats, these damages will not be covered by your basic HDB fire insurance. So this is where, if you were to enhance your own coverage, like a home insurance policy, when you buy on top of the basic HDB fire insurance, this is where this policy comes in. So this plan can cover situations, example, like contents, your renovation, or maybe even third-party liability related to the events like fire.
Right. Well, then, in relation to this incident, what does insurance not cover?
Yeah, so it depends on the policy type that you have. If it's a basic HDB fire insurance, well, contents, there will be your beautiful renovations, third-party injuries, third-party losses, all this will not be covered. Yeah, if it's just a basic fire insurance.
Okay. Well, it looks like the dry rising main at the block was not in proper working condition when the SCDF fought the blaze there on July 29th. Could this also have an impact on insurance claims or liability?
Well, the good news is it should not affect the claims, as this is outside of the resident's control. But in terms of liability, I won't be able to give a proper answer because I think we still need to see a legal counsel. But it doesn't stop anybody from seeking third-party compensation, depending on how their legal representative advise them.
Right. And looking at the bigger picture here, Chun, I mean, this can happen to anyone at any time. Do most Singaporeans have sufficient insurance coverage for a disaster like this? I mean, what kind of coverage would you advise homeowners to consider beyond what's mandatory?
Well, I don't have the specific figures, but I do believe many Singaporeans, have already some form of enhanced cover on top of the basic fire insurance. Whether that's sufficient or not, it depends. I would still highly recommend everyone to review their fire insurance policy. If you have an outstanding loan with HDB or the banks, they would have you to purchase a basic fire insurance nonetheless. Yeah, there are many different types. So, for example, you could have the all risk type, you could have the insured perils type. There could be variations in the liability coverage. So, give an example, some insurance companies, they start with, say, $500,000 of liability coverage. Some goes as high as $5 million. So choose the type that suits, what you're looking for and suits your budget. I think the key thing is this: we all have varying needs and varying housing types, so depends on your requirements. But a liability insurance from the fire insurance, I think that is one key thing that every homeowner should be really considering to enhance it.
Some great insights from you there. Thank you so much, Chun, for joining me today.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. That was Chun Oh, who's the director of Avallis Financial. This has been The Big Story with me, Hongbin Jeong.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.